Hello and welcome to A Dialogue With. My name is Charlie Adams. I am Director of Customer Experience at Custom Connect. And today I'm having a dialogue with one of the top revered coaches in the world right now, Lee Houghton. Morning, Lee.
Thanks very much, Charlie. Thanks for that intro. I'm not sure that's a worthy intro, but I much appreciate it. Absolute pleasure to have this opportunity to chat with you, sir.
That intro is warranted. So I'm going to just explain very briefly who you are and then ask you to explain a bit yourself. And the reason it's warranted is you're obviously a people coach. You're an author of The People Puzzle, which I believe was on the Amazon bestseller list for a period last
Was
year. You're
yeah,
co-founder of Get Knowledge, and importantly, you're the recent winner of the National Coach of the Year. So,
yeah, yeah.
do you want to explain a bit about your background, about what led to you winning all these accolades and what it is you actually do?
It all seems really, yes, I will. As you said, Lee Houghton, 20 years. This year I've been doing what I do in some capacity, whether that was employed or for the last 7.5 years in a self-employed director of own business capacity. And when I fell into the world of improvement and change 20 years ago when my manager said to me, "Oh, you like talking to people. We're going to go through this improvement initiative and we think you'd be great at it." So I threw myself into it, fell in love with it because I saw the impact that it had on people and the roles and the processes that they were doing. And I call like my first 12 years like the process and performance years, where I worked on improving processes and performance of individuals, teams, and businesses. And then the last 8 years have been I call my people years, where I really realised the most important thing in sustainable, successful change is how we engage with people. It took one moment, the worst moment of my life, in losing my best mate 8 years ago, that really crystallized this kind of pivotal moment from the process and performance years to the people years. So now, we combine everything that we know about how to engage, empower people of various different layers in an organization to deliver sustainable change and just help them make today better than yesterday. We fundamentally believe that people are the greatest asset in any organization, and we're here to make it a lived experience for everybody.
Love it. Great explanation. And obviously, a man of my own heart. People are the greatest thing in any organization. And it kind of answers my next question, which is going to be why do you care so much about coaching? But instead, I'm going to skip, so I think that'll come out throughout this conversation why you care so much. But I I often find that the role of a coach is misunderstood. So for clarity and for everyone listening, you're not a football coach, you're not a sports coach, you're a people coach. But what is it that you do? What is the role of a coach? Do people know what coaches do?
Um, I think coaching as a word is overused, and it's a catch-all for all various different types of careers at the minute. When I think about the process and performance years, the early years, that's when I realized that you need to lead people, you need to manage things, and you need to coach the gaps. And then really I've started to understand what really coaching the gaps means. So we lead people, we direct, and we set a direction. We're visionary, and we get everybody to understand where it is that we're trying to head. So we need to lead people. We manage the things. So we might manage safety, we might manage quality, we manage the process, but then we coach the gaps. And we coach the gaps, whether those are people gaps or process gaps, by creating spaces for people and enabling them to think. I believe that the two most important metrics in any organization that are never measured are the number of thoughts that were time from thought to conversation to action taking place. And so for me, coaching is about creating a space for thought and enabling those thoughts in people. And whether that's through the questions that we ask, whether that's through the spaces we provide, whether that's through reflection, time that we give, we want people to take control of their capability development and improvement. And I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and we were talking about how many books of people read, and loads of people have read loads and loads of books but not taken the action. And so I think true coaching is about bringing those two things together, like helping people get knowledge themselves, but then also take the action and holding them to account to make the difference. So yeah, it's a lot of words to answer your question.
No, it's a lot of words. It's awesome. I actually feel like I'm being coached now listening to it. It's lots of good knowledge. So in my history and in my role and in the role of a lot of people listening, they'll probably see coaching as something that, say in a contact center environment, which is where I am, that team leaders do to agents, that operations managers might do to team leaders, that operations managers probably don't get much coaching. And then certainly when you get to heads of and directors and C-level, etc., it feels like, and this might just be my perception, that coaching gets less and less the higher up you go. And therefore, my question is, if the leader is already at the top of their game, they're already in the C-suite, why do they need to be coached?
It's a great question. And I think ego gets in the way, doesn't it? Like, we often think that what has made us successful to get to our position today is going to make us successful tomorrow to achieve. And that's when our ego is at its strongest, because we just double down on the things that we've done. But we only know what we know. And I think coaching provides the space to know more, if you're open to it as well. And I think so. There's two things I want to talk about here actually. Like when you talk about coaching at team leader level, then that's with a defined purpose. Typically, it's around the quality of a call or something like that. So there's a clear intention. So it's not necessarily developing the person.
Gotcha.
It's developing the person's capability to be able to facilitate or handle the next call better. But does that person want to be in that position for a long period of time? If the answer is no, and they want to do something else, then coaching can help them develop in other ways as well. Intention is really important when it comes to coaching. And so when we think about exec coaching and senior leadership coaching, it has to be with a clear intention, and it's two-way. You can't have a coach that has a coachee that doesn't want to be coached. And often this is where I see the big challenge is. Coaching can help anybody. However, the person has got to want to be coached, or to have a safe space for development, to acknowledge that actually they don't have all of the answers. And that for me is the beauty of coaching. It's not about the answers, it's about the questions and the space that we provide. And so I think a lot of leaders can be better coaches, but in order to do that, they need to be coached to understand that actually providing the answers is not the answer.
It's like this never-ending wheel, isn't it? It's like, it's not like you get coached and then you're done. Coaching is like a forever cycle. Is that right?
It is, if you want it to be. Yes, absolutely is. It can help you get to close a particular gap, but like it should be about this continual learning, this continual development, and yes, if you are humble enough and to recognize that you've got gaps, to recognize that you can be better, then coaching is a way, is a vehicle, is a practice to help you be more self-aware about those gaps and then fix them.
I've got a couple of questions on the back of that, but the first one that I guess I need to ask, because I wouldn't say it's a blocker, but it's certainly something that leaders and especially when you want to invest in coaching, you have to think about. It's ROI. So I can see the benefit, the immediate impact. If we coach an agent, as you said, and they have to improve their quality, and they take the next call and their quality is improved, you can see the impact coaching has directly on the business. But is it possible to measure the similar impact when you're coaching leaders on the business, or is it an impact on their life? How do you measure whether it's been successful?
Yeah, so that is a great question, because all forms of business development require a return on investment for the spend, for the
Mhm.
activity. When I think about this, the best way that I can articulate this is through a model that I created probably about 10 years ago, called, it's the best model. Okay, and that's the name of it. And when I looked at how coaches and consultants engaged organizations, and how improvement teams did as well, they always focused on the T part of it, the targets of an organization, because those are the things. So they might want to improve productivity, improve quality, improve a target. And then what happened about 10, 15, maybe a few more years ago, the customer satisfaction became more of a thing, because people had joined the dots between satisfied customers and achievement of business targets. The more satisfied our customers are, the more likely we are to achieve our targets.
Mhm.
And then about 5, 10 years ago, employee well-being and employee experience and employee engagement became more and more of a thing, because people had connected more of the dots between highly engaged employees, highly satisfied customers, and overall achievement of business targets. So that's the E, the S, and the T of the best model. But then, really, to answer your question, Charlie, in terms of the return on investment, it's
Mhm.
all of those things, but you've got to focus on the B, the behavior, the leadership behavior, the number one factor. So people don't leave organizations often; they leave the managers, or they leave the environment, and those environments are created by the behaviors of a manager. So if we focus on the behaviors of a leader, then create highly engaged employees,
Mhm.
highly or impressive customer satisfaction scores, we're going to have achievement of business targets. And there are loads of studies out there that show the links between these different stats. So if you have a leader or an organization that is going, actually, I just want to improve the productivity, the revenue, the profits, then you have to take them on a journey to go, well, what does that mean in terms of satisfying the customers? What does that mean in terms of our employee engagement? And how do our leaders need to behave to create the right environment for the people to behave and to be engaged in the right way to satisfy the customers, to achieve the business target? So yes, return on investment is absolutely possible if your intention is to improve the behaviors of the leaders, and ensure that those destination that you're trying to get to. And so, yeah, you can have those conversations, link the best model. So
Mhm.
rather than working traditionally and starting at the T, we encourage that you start at the B, start at the behavior, then create environments that create highly engaged employees, satisfy the customers, and then achievement of business targets. That's a far harder sell. And that's why it comes down to the intention. And that's why you've got to, the leaders have got to really get out of their own way and understand the environments that they're creating and not necessarily creating the results that they're wanting. So rather than beating people with a stick about the target,
Mhm.
change the behavior, change the habits, create a better environment, satisfy our customers, because we are feeling good about coming to work. In one of the sessions that I run with groups, I'll have a conversation with them about how many of you have felt really bad or negative in the environment that you're in, but your manager expects you to perform at your best. And that, for me, is when you start to connect the dots, when leaders are more open to that, and recognizing that the environment, the results of is a function of the environment that they've created, then the return on investment is an easier conversation. If they're not open to that, then
Mhm.
it's a far harder challenge. But they've got to get out of their own way.
They've got to get out their own way. I love that. Um, And it's a great answer, but I love that I asked a question about ROI and budget, and you quite neatly bring it back to people. You quite neatly bring it back to behaviors and environment, which makes perfect sense. Of course, why wouldn't you focus on behaviors and environment? Business is just a collection of people. So focus on that, and the results will follow as long as you're creating the right behaviors, which, yeah,
Right.
makes perfect sense.
Right. There's a guy, a motivational speaker called Steve McDermott, and he says, and he's got a 4 minute rule, and it's the 4 minutes of every session, every like when you walk through the door at the end of the day, those 4 minutes are so important, but those are what set the tone for everything. So I would encourage all leaders to think about the first four. If they're going from one meeting to the next meeting, still thinking about the meeting they've just been in, and then they're not going to be smiling, happy, open to everybody, and that sets the tone for the rest of that conversation. Working away Monday to Friday, and you come home on Friday, your family have not seen you all week, and then you walk through the door, the kids run towards you, and you go, just give us 5 minutes. I've just had a long drive. The traffic was horrendous. Then you're telling your kids that who are missing you that they're not as important as you just having that moment of time that you need to decompress. Our behaviors influence so much of the environments that we are in. So I encourage all leaders to think about the first 4 minutes of every meeting they go to today and tomorrow, and how are they turning up and showing up. And if they're changed and have the right intention to create an engaged, empowered organization, then those meetings, I believe, would be so much more successful.
4 minutes. It's really easy to remember as well. It's not like a complicated thing. Just remember to be in the moment, take 4 minutes to breathe, and make the most of those 4 minutes. And funnily enough, I was having a conversation with my daughter yesterday. She's a bit more grown up now, but we're looking back at photos when she was a toddler and all the fun things that we did. And she was like, was it fun when we were younger? And I was like, it was great fun, because I'd finish work, I'd have a really stressful day, I would be driving home, shouting at everyone in the traffic. I'd open the front door. You'd run up and say, "We're playing hide and seek. Start counting." And then my kids would run off, and then I'd just have to basically go 1, 2, 3, and then I'm suddenly in dad mode. I'm playing hide and seek, or I walk through the door and they say, "Come and sit down. We're playing with Lego," and it's just such a good decompress. And it's not easy being a dad and going to work and coming home and stuff, but. So I was like learning every day, but it was great to decompress and just be a kid and play with Lego at the end of the day. Because switching between business and dad is hard, but switching between meetings is hard. You can go from having a board meeting to having an agent meeting to having a client meeting. And so, yeah, it's a great tip, the first 4 minutes.
Yeah, I think it's about presence, isn't it? And being in the room, whatever room you're in, mentally and physically. I often talk about you have to put your body where your priority is. So you take your make sure that you do the actions and you go and spend time with your people, and because that's where your priority is, not sat behind your computer with your like tapping away at emails. So put your body where your priority is. But I think it's just so much more important as well to put your mind where your priority is, and that should be aligned where your body is. So your mind and body have to be present in the environment that you're in at that point in time. Because if they're not, whether it's with the kids, whether it's with your team, they'll feel it. I don't think there's any. I think so the word listen and silent have got exactly the same letters in them, and I think that's what we need to be. We need to be like silent when we are present, because we're actively listening to who are being with the people. If we're constantly thinking about the email that we've not sent, the action that we've not done, and we're with our team or with our family, then we're not present, and they will feel that we're not present. So we don't care to them. We don't care, or we're demonstrating that we don't care.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's all about. That's why people are so important. That's why people are the greatest assets. But if they are the greatest asset, you've got to treat them like the greatest asset and show that you care truly.
Before we run out of time, Lee, I'm loving the tips, and I think we could probably talk for another 2 hours just with me asking you questions and you give me more tips about how to be a better leader and be more present, because absolutely love it. But before we run out of time, I'm really aware that you have this unique view on leadership. So For the last, was it 8 years ago or so? However long it's been, you've been in this unique coaching role where you um, see into leadership roles and company roles and leadership teams and management teams, and you hop in and out of all these companies, learning all this insights, which gives you a really grounded view. So my question is what is it that the top leaders are getting right?
There's going to be two ways I want to answer this. That's all right. One of them, I'm going to share the story that I spoke about at the start that was pivotal to my change from process to performance to people. And I'll share that story shortly. And then the second way I want to answer that is around providing of the answers. So the best leaders don't have the answers. The best leaders have the questions and the environments that will provide the answers for them. And I think so as leaders, we believe often that we are in the position of power. We have got to provide the answers when people ask the question. And then that means that we feel all of this pressure. We have all of these bags on our shoulders, and then we've got to know everything. We've got to respond to everything. But we have got teams of people who know most about it are the ones who fulfill the actions.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can have an environment where we recognize that we're not best placed to answer the question, we're best placed to provide an environment where the team can provide the answers, then that's success for me. And that's the difference. The one thing that gets in the way of that is we live in this world where the time pressures make us think that we don't have the time, and I think we do have the time. And let me just go into the original story now. So the pivotal life moment for me, it was the best and worst question that I've ever asked. Am I all right oversharing, Charlie?
No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, so best and worst question I've ever asked, because it was the best question because of the gift it provided, but the worst question because I never wanted to ask my best mate to reflect on his 39 years before he passed. So my best mate, Chris, sadly passed on the 5th of July, 2018, aged 39 after his third bout of cancer. I was the first person to see him when the consultant left the room, and they told him that medical science could do no more for him. About a week after that, he said to me, he said, I'm going to extract my pension. He worked at Leyland Trucks, going to extract his pension for the trust fund for his kids and stuff like that. He had two boys. And he said, you've always wanted your own business, Lee. Let me give you a few grand to set you up. I was like, I don't want any of your money, Chris. That's your kids' trust. I said, but what I would love you to reflect on the 39 years and tell me what the most important things are, 3 most important lessons that I can share with your family. And because I recognized when he came more comfortable with that his time was coming to a close, his perception or his perspective on life changed. The big things or the little things didn't appear like big things anymore, and he had a real focus on what was important, and it was about experiences. And so I asked him this lesson. He was like, "Oh, I wish you just asked for the money. It'd be far easier to give you, but I'll go away and think about it." And I'm so grateful that he did. So like a couple of weeks had passed. I went to see him, and he said, "Right, I've got lesson 1 for you." He said, when him and his ex-partner were splitting up, he said he tried to be somebody he thought she wanted him to be. Didn't make him happy, didn't make her happy, and they still ended up splitting up. He said, "Just always be yourself." That was lesson number 1. A few weeks after that, I went to see him. And he says, "When you're not working, you come and see me." Nash, one of our other mates, rings him at 12 o'clock every single day on his lunch. He said, "Make good friends, because you never know when you're going to need them or when they're going to need you." And then literally 8 weeks before he passed, we went to watch the Foo Fighters at the Etihad Stadium. And on the way back from that, his youngest boy, Liam, said, "Is it too late to go to Anfield, because we support Liverpool for a tour?" So that was on the Thursday, the Foo Fighters concert. And then on the Sunday, we went to Anfield to have a private tour. It was the most beautiful day. Me and my boy, so Jack was 4 at the time, and Chris and his 2 boys. We had ice cream outside. The sun was beating down, and it was just the most beautiful day. We had as much time as we wanted. We got kits. Liverpool were amazing with us. And on the way back from that, Chris looked over at me as I was driving. And he said, "How many times could we have done this?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "How many times could we have done this when and I wouldn't have been a burden and had to be wheeled round. How many times would have done this and I didn't have to just stay in the wheelchair, and I would have been able to sit on the seats that you all sat on. He said, time's limited, so act now. 8 weeks, to the 5th of July, I spent the night with him in the hospice, and at 10 to 8 in the morning, I went to the bathroom, and on leaving the bathroom, his chest expanded, and that was it. He'd chosen that moment to leave. I went and sat outside after making a few phone calls and realised that I was being a fraud. I'd always wanted my own business, but I didn't have my own business. I was telling my kids they could be everything they wanted to be, and I wasn't everything I wanted to be. And when I think about what happened after his passing, it was a catalyst for everything I do now. So within 7 months of losing Chris, me and Jason, my business partner, we set up Get Knowledge. I started a podcast, and on my first client activity, it was in South Wales, and I was driving home from that one day, and I pulled over at the side of the road. I started to cry because I'd realised that the 3 lessons that Chris provided me, always be yourself, make good friends, and time's limited, were actually the 3 things that leaders need to be and do more. Because if we, as a leader, understand who we are and understand who our people are, then we're creating environments that are safe to speak up. So because we're always being ourselves, there's been so many sessions I've been to where people don't say what they're really thinking because they're frightened in the environment. So, but if we create an environment where we can be ourselves, then we're going to get more ideas, more thoughts, more things flushed out. The second one, making good friends. Whether it's friends, whether it's colleagues, whether it's peers, whether it's teammates, it's all about connection. The more time we can connect with people on a human level, the more that they will do for the collective good. And so it's all about connection and strength of connection. And then the third one, time's limited, that's about understanding what are our important things that we need to do, and recognizing those things and working on those things. So if we can create environments where people can be themselves in a highly connected teams, but focusing on the priority actions, then what more do we need from our leaders and our teams to be able to do? And because of Chris's story, I started to share it a lot more at different sessions. And 4 days before Chris's 4th anniversary, I shared it in Blackburn at a networking event. And after finishing, this guy called Frank, who I'd never met before, walked forward from the audience, and he went, "I don't know whether there's anything in this, Lee, but I've circled the first word of Chris's 3 lessons. So always be yourself, make good friends, and time's limited." It says always make time. And I was like, blimmin' heck. I was a write-off for the weekend, but that's the how do we live these 3 lessons. So we can always be ourselves if we make time to understand ourselves and understand those that we're working with. We can always we can make good friends if we make time to have those conversations that matter. And if we're going to focus on the priority things, because time is limited, we need to make time to focus on those priority things. If everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. And so to answer your question, I would say Chrissy's greatest gift was sharing with me the simplicity of leadership, life, and people. And it is about creating environments and having clarity and a desire to understand who we are and who those who we're working with are, making time and space for connection, relationships, friendships, and really truly understanding what is the important things that we need to work on to get us to where we need to get to. Well, there you go, Charlie Adams. That was my answer.
Thanks for sharing, Lee. It's obviously a sad but beautiful story with some great lessons, and I'm really glad you did share it. There's definitely lots of food for thought, and lots of good lessons. I mean, the one on time is one that really appeals to me, because as we get older, I keep reminding myself that we're only on this planet for a short time, and there's that phrase, "If not now, when?" So people, definitely myself, but people put off doing things. For instance, you wanted to start your business and being selfish about thinking, what is it I really want and what is it I really want to do? And sometimes being selfish is the best thing you need to do. Sometimes think about, okay, how do I make me better, my life? So I've got better friendships. So I'm spending most of my time. So I'm being the person I want to be in the business I want to be in the dad I want to be. And yet we don't do that, do we? We're lost in 8 hours a day of work. We're lost in just trying to be the person we think people want us to be before we're actually taking time. Who is it that we want to be? Which is an amazing story. Thank you.
Yeah, we have, and I come back to what I said just before I share Chris's story. Often the biggest excuse that I'm ever given is I just don't have time. But we do have time.
Yeah.
If you're intentional, spend your time and what is important to you. So we all have enough time. But we've just got to make it. We just got to make it.
Talking of time, we're running out of time. So I know it's very bad timing. But where can people find you? If people want to reach out and speak to Lee, how can they get hold of you?
Easiest and best way is LinkedIn. So it's just Lee Houghton on LinkedIn, the one with the green thing behind the smiley face. Yeah, that is me. That's where I find myself more often than not. When I'm not there, I'll be at home with the kids, or I'll be helping teams, businesses live. This is free lessons.
Awesome. It's been a great chat, Lee. Thanks again for joining me. And thanks for a great conversation. No doubt we'll catch up again tomorrow.
Yeah, no, cheers, Charlie. It's been an absolute privilege to chat with you today. Thank you.
Cheers. And just to finish, thank you for everyone that's joined us today for a dialogue with Lee Houghton. Thank you.